Reacher brings plenty of unapologetic swagger and hard-hitting action. After 2 films starring Tom Cruise in the title role, Lee Child's popular literary hero Jack Reacher is making the leap to television in Prime Video's Reacher. Starring Alan Ritchson as the unapologetic, hyper-masculine badass, the 8-episode first season adapts Child's 1997 crime novel Killing Floor. A more faithful adaptation than the Cruise-starring films, Reacher is an action-packed approach to the character in an all-killer, no-filler first season. In the small town of Margrave, Georgia, U.S., Army combat veteran Jack Reacher is arrested under suspicion of committing a murder that occurred shortly after his arrival. Using his keen deductive skills, military experience, and mountains of muscles, Reacher sets out to learn who is truly responsible for the murder and deliver justice in his typical hard-hitting way to prove his innocence. Reacher soon discovers this small town may be hiding a conspiracy that sets the odds against him if Reacher was the sort to put much stock in running the odds. Reacher's depiction of its protagonist stays true to the 1997 novel. He's a man of few words and exudes absurd amounts of machismo every time he's on screen. Ritchson's Reacher is often the smartest man in the room, and he's unafraid of letting everyone else know it. He emasculates anyone who gets in his way with a steely gaze and smirk. However, Ritchson's performance excels when Reacher doesn't have full command of a situation. We've seen countless variations on the no-nonsense, supremely confident anti-hero before, so the moments when Reacher is on the defensive are the most effective and a welcome change of pace. The ensemble cast does a serviceable job, but most of the cast is caught in Ritchson's magnetic orbit, reacting as foils to this muscle-bound paradigm of Child's masculine ideal. The major exceptions are Willa Fitzgerald as Margrave police officer Roscoe Conklin, and Malcolm Goodwin as Chief Police Detective Oscar Finley. Fitzgerald's Conklin could have been fawning over Reacher's every move, but she challenges him as the season continues while lending a sympathetic ear. Goodwin's Finley is the opposite, fed up with Reacher's macho posturing and frustrated at what has become of his town. Where Reacher is going to satisfy more casual fans is with its action set pieces. Virtually every episode in the season has at least one unflinching fight sequence that demonstrates how Reacher can put some hustle behind that muscle. Reacher is more graphically violent than its cinematic counterparts, with plenty of broken bones and gouged eyes. Like its protagonist, the fights are short and to the point, often serving as punctuation to an extended story beat. Jack Reacher is an old-school figure that wanders into whatever small town he wants and fixes whatever problems he finds. He carries no phone, no credit cards, and has all the hallmarks of a paperback pulp hero, just as Child envisioned the character 25 years ago. Reacher delivers Child's vision more effectively than the 2-film adaptations. While those familiar with the literary source material are unlikely to be surprised by the adaptation, it still brings the hard-hitting thrills and masculinely over-the-top lead to Prime Video in clean-cut style. Reacher is a no-nonsense action thriller series that hits like a sledgehammer and carries an unapologetic swagger from start to finish. Based on the best-selling Jack Reacher novels by Lee Child, the series, first launched in 2022 on Amazon Prime, brings to life the towering, laconic protagonist in a way that thrills fans of the books and newcomers alike. From the opening scenes, it's clear that this is a different kind of action hero, a man with a quiet intensity, devastating physical power, and an unwavering moral code, all packaged in a brutal yet cool demeanor. At its core, Reacher follows the classic formula of a lone wolf wandering from town to town, getting caught up in local mysteries and dealing out justice with his fists, his wits, and an ironclad resolve. But it's the unapologetic swagger with which Jack Reacher operates that sets this show apart from the more polished, sanitized action series on TV today. Played with palpable authority by Alan Ritchson, Reacher embodies the concept of a man who doesn't have to shout to make his presence felt. At 6'5" and with a background in military police, he's not just dangerous, he's the danger. The show wastes no time in establishing its tone. Reacher is a man of few words, but when he speaks, it's with a blunt directness that leaves no room for misinterpretation. And when he acts, it's with the kind of force that leaves a lasting impression on both his enemies and the viewer. The violence in the series is visceral, unapologetic, and at times shockingly brutal. Bones break, blood flows, and Reacher, true to his nature, doesn't lose any sleep over it. He's a man of action who believes in taking down bad guys with maximum efficiency, and the show fully embraces that philosophy. What makes Reacher stand out is how it marries its hard-hitting action with a certain charm. There's a deliberate throwback quality to the character of Jack Reacher, reminiscent of the classic action heroes of the 80s and 90s, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator or Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry. He doesn't need to explain himself or justify his actions. He does what needs to be done with a cool, detached confidence that is almost magnetic. It's a refreshing departure from many modern action protagonists who are often weighed down by inner turmoil or reluctant heroism. Reacher knows exactly who he is, and the show doesn't try to apologize for him. The fight choreography in Reacher deserves special praise. Each confrontation is carefully crafted to highlight the sheer physicality of the character. Reacher isn't flashy, but he's efficient. Every punch, every kick, every bone-crushing takedown feels deliberate, as if Reacher has already calculated the quickest way to incapacitate his opponent before the first blow is even struck. There's an economy to his movements that makes every action scene feel like it has weight, as if every fight is a deadly game of chess where Reacher is always 3 moves ahead. And while the violence is brutal, there's also a certain satisfaction in watching someone so thoroughly dominate his enemies. But it's not just the physicality that makes Reacher work. The show also brings a sense of intelligence and strategy to the character that elevates it beyond mere brawling. Reacher is a former military police major after all, and his investigative skills are as sharp as his fists are powerful. Throughout the series, we see Reacher use his keen mind to unravel complex conspiracies and outsmart those who underestimate him. This balance of brains and brawn gives the series a depth that keeps it from being a mindless action fest. Reacher's no-nonsense, highly logical approach to problem-solving is as satisfying to watch as his fights, making him a fully rounded character who commands respect both physically and intellectually. The swagger that defines Jack Reacher extends to the very pacing and direction of the show. The creators clearly understand that the appeal of the character lies not just in his ability to dish out punishment, but in his cool, unflappable demeanor. There's no attempt to soften him or make him more palatable to a wider audience. He's a blunt instrument, and the show revels in that fact. At times, the narrative pauses to let Reacher deliver sharp, cutting lines that are as impactful as any punch. His dry wit and sharp comebacks provide moments of levity amid the carnage, but never in a way that detracts from the seriousness of the story. It's a delicate balance that the series pulls off with remarkable confidence. Reacher is a series that knows exactly what it wants to be and leans into that identity without hesitation. It's unapologetically tough, unflinchingly brutal, and carries a swagger that few modern action shows can match. For fans of the genre, it's a breath of fresh air, a return to the kind of storytelling where the hero doesn't need to justify his actions or question his place in the world. Jack Reacher is a force of nature, and the show brings that to life with a level of intensity and style that makes it a standout. Whether he's delivering bone-crunching justice or unraveling complex conspiracies, Reacher commands your attention and never lets go. It's a breath of fresh air, a return to the kind of storytelling where the hero doesn't need to justify his actions or question his place in the world. Jack Reacher is a force of nature, and the show brings that to life with a level of intensity and style that makes it a standout. Whether he's delivering bone-crunching justice or unraveling complex conspiracies, Reacher commands your attention and never lets go.